Well, hello, church family. Stephen and I are here today to hang out with you, and I was hoping that we could rehash a little bit of some of the stuff you talked about on Sunday out of John 4.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was an amazing message, actually. And I had a lot of people come up to me and tell me how liberating it was. And so basically, Stephen Howe took the time to share with us about the woman at the well and the simplicity of what it is to follow Jesus. And he took all of that out of the context of John 4. And if you want to share some of that with us right now, it'd be great, because I think it's important that we rehash again what was said so we can get it in our spirits. I say it all the time, it's very hard to take bullet notes in the spirit. You got to hear it again. And I remember the disciples would come back to Jesus to get more. They needed more life. They needed to have more understanding, and they kept coming back for more. So this is kind of coming back for more.
Yeah.
If not only for you, but for me.
Yeah, for me too.
Yeah.
The main takeaway that I would impress upon you, if you forget everything else out of John 4, is that this is a way to begin to live in your daily life and ultimately change your geographic location or your surroundings.
Right.
We're all uniquely connected to people and in relationship with people that nobody else can potentially reach.
Correct.
And so what you see over the course of John 4 is you see Jesus telling a even cryptic version of his story a little bit
Right.
to the woman at the well in a way that causes her to want what he has, even without realizing what he has yet.
Right.
He hasn't given away the big picture of who he really is, other than to know that whatever he's giving, the source of life and the love that she's feeling radiating from him, she wants a part of that.
Right.
And so then she creates a story with Jesus that causes her to overcome all the offenses and obstacles
Yeah.
of people in her town. As
Yeah.
one who had a reputation, as one who was rejected, she now has fallen in love or experienced love to a degree that causes her to jump over those obstacles and those hurdles, because she wants those people that are hurting around her to experience the same love that she had just experienced.
Yes.
So
Yes.
she, after creating a story with Jesus, immediately goes out and begins to share and communicate her story to
Right.
other people who may benefit from it.
Yeah.
And out of that, we see the culmination is that this opportunity is given to the whole town
Yeah.
to be able to come out and create their own story with Jesus.
Yep.
In the end of the chapter, I think it's just beautifully expressed that it said that many people in the town believed because of the woman's word, but then once they experienced Jesus for themselves, it said many more believed because they gained their own testimony.
Yeah.
And there's an impact and there's a power that comes with you just simply sharing stories of how Jesus has loved you right where you are,
Yeah.
that gives other people an opportunity to meet Jesus and create their own story.
Right.
It says in Revelation that they overcame by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. And even in that is that beautiful picture of relationship where it was Jesus doing the thing that only he could do,
Right.
by dying on the cross and his blood being the power and the source of our liberation. And then also the part that we can do, which is having a story and communicating that story in a way that overcomes darkness in somebody else's life.
So it's really a lot more simple than we've made it.
Yeah, it's really that simple. Jesus said that if we love him with all of our heart, soul, mind, and strength, and then we love our neighbor as ourselves, then basically we have fulfilled the whole thing.
Yeah.
So if we can learn how to love Jesus, and we'll talk about this for years to come.
Sure.
How to love Jesus both in the Word, in heaven, spiritually, all of those dynamics, but also more importantly that this missing piece of how to love him in his body,
That's
how to
right.
love him in people
Yeah.
here on the earth, and truly understanding that when we see him in his body, we are getting a visitation or an encounter
Yeah.
with Jesus,
Yeah.
and we have that opportunity to see him in a facet or a way that we've maybe never seen him
Yeah.
before. And so one of the things I get most excited about, and one of the reasons I'm so happy to be here, it's only been 3 weeks or so now, and in some ways it seems like we've just always been here, but the opportunity that we have to see people in this area it said that if Jesus would be lifted up, he would draw all men unto himself.
Yeah.
And even we'll probably shoot videos in the future, even with people who are simply living out their story.
Yeah.
And because their story has authority and power,
That's right.
they're seeing other people liberated and ministered to.
That's right.
A great example a couple of weeks ago was of Karam. Karam, for those of you that weren't here, he simply shared a couple of the stories of his life and how he's arrived at this point.
When he was in Pakistan.
But it's very easy to see that his passion and his authority as a believer in Jesus comes from the stories that happen in his natural life.
Right.
The passion that he has for healing came as a result of contending and praying to see his sister healed and seeing the demonstration of the Spirit in her life.
Yeah.
So it doesn't take very long. If you take the time to listen to an individual, you find out things that they're really passionate about because those are the experiences that they've truly tasted of.
Right.
And so, we'll probably share stories. We'll have people sit up here with us and just talk about the way that they're living their story and how it's changing the relationships around them.
In some way, you've helped dismantle a lot of the ways that we think maybe after we get born again or saved or enter into the church world, that you've actually kind of helped in that message to disqualify a lot of the thoughts that we thought we had to be qualified for.
Yeah.
We were qualified at the cross, and the simplicity of just living your life with the Lord and gaining the authority every day of hearing His voice, walking with the Lord, and knowing that that was enough for Him, and not having to continually have to try and help Him or work for Him. It kind of lets us know we can work with Him and beside Him every day as out of relationship. It really helped people, I think, break away from some of the mindsets that we set up on how to do Christianity. It's you simplified it for us in a way that we can just say, you know what, I can wake up in the morning, I can just go about my day, and when you do it unto the least of these, you've done it unto me. As you go throughout the day, just being kind, walking with the Lord, and hearing His voice and just following Him. And I think we needed to hear that. And the thing about one of the things you said about the woman at the well was when she spoke to the Lord, all she had to do was be honest. She just became honest. She just said, "Look, I didn't have 5 husbands. I mean, I have. You're right,
but I'm not currently married.
Yeah, but I'm not currently married." And she was just honest. Hey, I'm just honest with him. And I think sometimes we try to be so strong, and that's where we become weak. It's when I got this, or I've got to get more education, or I got to get more qualified before I can become useful to the Lord. And it really sets people free when they hear the story you're talking about, just out of your story, your life, what you have been through, the authority that you're gaining based on where you're walking today, is enough. And then to represent the Lord through your testimony of what He's doing day in and day out where you're at in your life. Boy, that's liberating. Because I don't know about you, I came out thinking I've got to get all these credentials. I loved at the end you actually brought up. You said that the tips that Jesus gave us. Will you share some of those real quick?
Well, I mean, just at kind of a future message, I guess. It starts off in the way that Jesus chose to release the disciples. It's found in Luke chapter 9, the first 4 or 5 verses of the chapter. At some point, Jesus decided that the more people that were doing the same things that He was doing on the earth, the multiplied force, the effectiveness of how many people could be reached. And so it said simply that He gathered the 12 together, gave them power and authority, and then sent them out with a set of instructions. And honestly, when you read it, the set of instructions boiled down to you don't need to make any preparations. You don't need any food. You don't need any money. And that when you go places, stay there and then leave. So you have to travel to some place and stay there, and then you have to leave that place. And then finally, when it doesn't work, shake it off and try it again. So honestly, the sum total of Jesus's manual of how to do ministry to His disciples was that you don't need to prepare for anything. You have been baptized with power and authority, and that is truly all that you need.
That's right.
That use it wherever you go. And then when it doesn't work, shake it off and try it again. Now, I don't know about you out there. It may sound a little bit complicated or confusing, but the bar in this room seems very, very low from Jesus. that there shouldn't be anybody here on the earth that can't at least give it a try based off of the Holy Spirit that's living inside of us.
Yeah.
And then when it doesn't work, we just shake it off and try it again.
Wow. And that it really is liberating. I remember when I first became born again, I mean, I remember the sky was bluer, the trees were greener. I mean, there was so much life in it. Somewhere along the path, I mean, if it was moving, I would have told him or testified to Jesus. Yeah. Right. I was so hungry for this relationship I had. Somewhere along the line, Stephen, I don't know, somewhere in my head, I got that I'm still not, I need church affirmation and confirmation before I can continue to move forward. So somewhere I grounded myself and thought I disqualified myself because I didn't feel like I had enough knowledge. Yeah. And I did not meet up with the criteria that I thought the expectations were there for me. And because of that, it actually created almost made me tone deaf. Yeah. If that makes any sense. And then to be reawakened again to the person of Jesus. He's actually alive. You know, he's not a doctrine. He's a person. He's talking with us every day. He's walking with us every day. I got to keep coming back to him. He's that tree of life to get life from. It's exciting. I love this life that I live. And I find that also about the woman at the well and everything, one of the things that you just said too is she went back and wanted other people to experience this person. And I think that's one of the fruit of coming alive in Jesus. Yeah. You fall in love with people, literally. Yeah. I mean, I would rather sit down and have a cup of coffee, I think, today with just about anyone and just hear their story and love on them and just be there for them and hear them and do whatever I can to help them get to where they're going and just serving the person in front of me. Yeah. I think in the past I had so much built up in me what I needed to do and met this bar that you realize sometimes you don't mean to, and your heart doesn't mean to, but you may even step on a few people to get to where you're going. Yeah. Because the ministry, it's in the name of the ministry. Yeah. So I would have to say this is a very liberating message for anyone.
And there may be those of you out there that think, man, I've lived this long, and you can hear those voices of accusation or condemnation that said, echoing those thoughts like, if I only knew then, what I know now, how much differently would I have spent the last 20 years of my life or the last 40 years of my life for some people out there. But the encouragement is in the parable quickly. I know we've spent a decent amount of time here, but in the parable of the vineyard, we see that in the morning, the foreman basically comes out and he hires people to work in the vineyard. Yeah. And then at noontime, comes back out mid-afternoon. And then finally, with like an hour of daylight left, he comes back out and he echoes this phrase, "How come you guys aren't already working in the vineyard?" And they said, "Nobody told us that there was work to be done." Right. And so he said, "Come on in and we'll pay you what's right." So they all get in line afterwards, and there's this spot where we can all be delivered, depending on whether we were the one that started early in the morning or in the hour. Because you can imagine standing in the line when you have only worked an hour, you're beating yourself up thinking, man, I wish I had known about this earlier. Sure. I can't imagine what those guys that started at the beginning are going to get paid for their rewards. Yep. And meanwhile, if you were one of those that started, I was born saved and I've been living for Jesus ever since, you're thinking, man, if this person got paid this much money, how much more am I going to get? They only started right at the last minute. Yep. And so we all have the ability to get delivered, realizing that we all get paid the same. We all either inherit the kingdom, or we get nothing. That's right. And so an encouragement to you out there, if you're feeling like, man, I wish I had understood the simplicity of Jesus earlier in my life. Yeah. The encouragement is not so much when you learn it in your life, it's when you find out about the opportunity, whether you engage with it. Yeah. And so the same way you might be that person, just like in the parable, that at the last hour you're going, I didn't know that it was like this. Right. And simply they took the opportunity to engage. They overcame their fears. They overcame the feelings of regret. And they went ahead and participated anyway. And so some of you out there, even though you feel like, man, I wish I had known this 30, 40, 50 years ago, the encouragement today is if now with this knowledge and this newfound experience that you're being awakened to, if you participate with it now, you inherit the same things as those that may have been doing it all their lives.
That's good. That is really good. That's very liberating. It is.
It's still hard here to process. Yes. Even while saying it, it's hard to believe it here. Yeah. But it is right here.
Absolutely. Because it's truth. Yep. So if you like what you heard this today and it really helped you out, there's more to that. You can get the CD actually that you taught on Sunday at the church here. This video that you're watching goes to our church family and everybody on our email list. So if you took time to watch it, hopefully you enjoyed it and it helped you. And also you can get, again, the CD from the church to get the full message from Sunday. And many more to come. So we hope there'll be other videos that are going to come out. They're going to help. So the whole point of us even doing this today was that we realized that on Sunday morning you got about 45-minute window to articulate some of the truths that have helped us.
Yeah.
So this gives us an opportunity for you to rewatch it and watch it again. And the upcoming videos will be around that as well, so that you guys can walk right alongside us and we can all walk together at the same pace.
Yeah, and if you're out there and you're thinking, man, I didn't realize that I actually fulfilled something of this message in my life this week, we want to hear about those things.
That's true.
We want to hear about your stories. We're tired of listening to our stories, honestly. I want to hear your stories. I want to hear what's going on because we really want to champion those things. We are in a place where we're in a recovery system church-wide, where we're beginning to honor the things that Jesus said deserve greater honor.
That's good.
And so no matter how insignificant or small you believe you are, or the gifts that you've been given, if you have a testimony or a story about just simply living an expression of the love of Jesus, and out of that somebody being touched, we want to hear about it. And you never know, you might end up sitting next to one of us and doing one of these videos in the next few weeks.
If anything, just sharing it.
Yeah.
You talk about the Lord, He shows up, and just sharing it builds more of our trust and confidence in who we are in Christ, and knowing that He's there with us. I love talking about Him.
Yeah.
I can do it all day long. So whether you're here, there, or over a cup of coffee at Starbucks,
For sure.
share your story, because that's what it's about. So thank you guys for taking time to watch this, and we'll see you soon. All right. Bye-bye.